Hello, my name is Zachariah with Old Man Gaming, and this is another terrible talk. It's not going to be a happy one, that's why my hair is scraggly. I'm in an old hoodie. I'm not super happy about anything going on right now. So, I got kind of an angry, terrible talk to do because there was a whole nother terrible talk I had planned, and I'm just not going to do it. I'm going to do this because it's a little bit more topical, a little bit more on my mind. And what we're talking about today is specifically delayed games. Cyberpunk 2077 just got delayed again to December 10th, and we're going to talk about specifically why you should be upset about that. But before we get into that, I do have a couple of disclaimers. Number one, the quality of this is probably not going to be so good. This is a 10-year-old webcam, trying something a little bit different. I'm actually speaking into a mic here, so hopefully the audio will be a little bit better, but the video will probably be a little bit worse. Just bear with me. Number two, this is just not going to be as good or as edited as Neil, a.k.a. A Tiny Wizard's Terrible Talks. He does a great job on those. He puts a lot of work into it, a lot of effort into it. It's just not going to be me. It's really just going to be me, an old, dirty guy, just ranting about video games for 10, 15 minutes. So keep that in mind. Okay, so let's talk about delays. Like I said, Cyberpunk is delayed again. This will be the third delay, fourth overall release date that you've received from this game since it went into development or whatever. It's been in 8 years. And it's not the only game to do this. There's tons of games out there that delay and delay and delay and delay. I mean, I can't remember the last time we had a date that went through that wasn't directly related to a Nintendo title. And Bali for you, Nintendo. So I want to talk about why you should be mad about delays. But before, I want to just say, cut off one criticism that I'm sure I'll get before we even get into it. And that is, I don't want these game companies to release subpar games. That's not the answer. I don't want you to push out buggy pieces of crap, glitchy things that need tons of patches afterwards. I don't want that. And I don't think that's the alternative, honestly. I think the alternative is that game companies stop lying to us directly. Now, don't get me wrong, delays happen. Stuff gets in the way, especially in this year. We've all seen the world can be a very crazy place sometimes. Sometimes you can't put out the games, okay? But that being said, you are still putting an oral contract forward when you tell us you are going to deliver a game on a certain date. On top of that, it's even more so in the games industry because of pre-orders. You're literally taking money for a game and agreeing to produce a game on a certain date. Delays themselves aren't even the problems. It's the dates that's the problem. You see, in this industry, we need some sort of concrete foundation for which to build everything on. We need a piece of information that you're going to give us that is beyond reproach. Only in the most dire cases of emergency should this be broken or changed. It needs to be the date. It needs to be the release date. Give us release windows. How upset would you be if something moved from spring to summer? Not very. Really not very. But when you give us a concrete date, you're lying to us. Also, there's a whole part of this that's very underhanded and evil. I'm going to talk about that. Because I want to point out the dates right now that come out. Just think about the difference between them. The original date for Cyberpunk 2077 was April 16th. April 16th. What? 7-8 months ago? Then it got changed from April 16th to September 17th. How are you that off? And I'm going to tell you how they were that off. Because they weren't that off. They just didn't know. They wanted something cool for Keanu Reeves to say at an E3. I know, it sounds cold and it sounds callous, but that's the truth. They didn't want Keanu Reeves to say spring. They wanted Keanu Reeves to say a specific date. Why? Because, as I've spoken about in the review terrible talk that I did some months ago, the game industry makes a lot of money before the game ever comes out. Ad revenue, marketing deals. Sometimes they need these to even get the game out the door. And they do this. They generate this money, this merchandising and everything, through the hype train. They tell you a date. They tell you information. And all of this information is in service to get you excited about it, to get people, some consumers, to go out and spend money before they've even made it. Pre-orders, T-shirts, all sorts of stuff like that. It also attracts like investors to you. I mean, you look at Marvel's Avengers and how many pre-launch deals they had with different corporations to put their stuff in, different skins and whatnot, if you were with this company or if you had this bundle or deal. This is one of the reasons for them to give these dates so early, is so that they can prematurely generate money. All right? And that is evil. Super evil and super mean. Because they're lying to you guys. They're lying to you guys. They're getting you guys excited and then just taking it back quietly afterwards. They go up on a stage at an E3 or in some sort of press event and they announce this big date with all the lights and explosions and celebrity guests. And then, a couple months later they go, just so you know, it's going to be about 6 months later than that. And that's wrong, and that's a problem. And every consumer out there, everyone who buys video games, everybody who pays attention to the games industry should be upset about the delays, about a delayed date, because a date should be concrete. You should not be giving us dates until you know the game can be finished. I mean, think about having a pizza delivered, all right? The pizza guy says 40 minutes. Say it takes him, 3 months. Are you going to tip him? No. Are you going to eat that pizza again? No, probably not. I mean, are you going to blast him on Yelp? Sure. This kind of stuff, this kind of behavior is almost singular to the games industry as far as how much they can get away with and how little they get checked for it. I'm going to segue right into the next part, and that is the games media. Games media blanketly okays these delays. When these delays happen on Twitter, it's just a sea of IGN staff, of GameSpot staff, of all of these guys it's okay, just make sure the game's good. We don't want to get a buggy game. Blah, 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 blah. Look, I don't want a buggy game. I want you to finish your game. But the fact that nobody is upset about them delaying other than the consumers, and when the consumers are upset, they get crapped on, is absolutely insane and wrong. You want to talk about crunch, and if you want to really talk about crunch, go check out Neil, aka Tiny Wizard's last Terrible Talk. Yeah, that's right, Synergy, guys. I'm not too mad not to plug. He has some really good things to say. He actually mentioned some of the stuff that I'm about to talk about. You want to talk about crunch? These guys have done crunch. Now, granted, I don't think their crunch was as bad as some of the nightmare stories we've heard, but still, they had to do mandatory crunch on a game that was supposed to release back on April 16th, a time when they were expecting crunch. I'm not saying crunch isn't inevitable. It is in any industry. However, you should be able to expect when it's coming. And these people were put off a whole 6 months for this crunch. They did the crunch, and now the game went gold, and then it still got delayed. So we've done crunch now. We made it gold. We still delayed it. Cyberpunk is by far what I'm talking about right now, but it is not the only culprit. One of my most excited games this year, Watch Dogs Legion. I don't know if anybody remembers this. The original date was March 3rd. March 3rd. Yeah. 3. Like the 3rd month of the year. We are in the 10th month of the year. How were you 7 months off? I'm going to tell you right now. They weren't 7 months off. They didn't know. They wanted a date to say on a stage, and that's what they did. I'm winding down here, but I want to one more time speak to the games media out there. Now, we're a small channel. We only have 226 subscribers. The old man fam is very small. Maybe I don't understand how it works. I mean, I know that you guys are all about getting the early access to games, and I know you're all deathly afraid that you won't get early access to games if you're not super nice to these companies. But I want to say something to you. It's directly to games media. Consumers, if you feel like it, you could turn the video off now, because I want to speak directly to the games media, who I know are listening because you guys keep stealing our ideas from our little channel. Stop giving these people a free pass because you are afraid that they will cut you off. It is your job. It is your responsibility to speak for the consumer. That's why we have reviews. That's why you do reviews. That's why we go to you, not just for strategies and whatever. We go to you guys because you guys are supposed to be the people between the corporate BS, the corporate bullshit, and us. That's what you guys are supposed to do. You're supposed to tell us if what they're saying is true, if they're going to, and you're not supposed to let them get away with stuff. Stop being okay with them screwing up the only concrete thing that we should have in gaming. When was the last time we saw a date that went through? It's insane. Now I'm getting flustered and I'm angry, so I'm going to calm back down and I'm going to bring it back down to a finish. But I know this is all about money. Everything's about money, blah, 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 blah. But it does not mean that you, the consumer, shouldn't be pissed the fuck off that they're doing this to you. Okay? It's one thing you delay 2 weeks because something goes wrong. It is another thing entirely that you delayed from April 16th all the way until now. There's no way that these people knew that this game was anywhere near ready for April 16th. So it shouldn't have been announced. If you aren't ready for a game to come out, don't give us a date. It's that simple. Please, game companies, stop doing this. Stop lying to us. You can have a hype train without this. You've got to give us something concrete. You're not. All right. So I'm sorry, guys. That probably seemed a little angry, a little ranty, a little kind of crazy, little madman in his basement, sort of. But that's how I feel. I'm sure I'm going to get some detractors out there that disagree. That's fine. Again, I don't think you guys, the consumer, should be shamed out of being upset about a delay. I don't think that you guys as consumers, I think you guys as consumers have every right to be upset with these companies and the fact that they are basically repeatedly lying to you, and not even just lying to you, but basically breaking an oral contract to you. All right, so that's it. That's my time. I'm going to wrap it up. You guys can, of course, keep the conversation going anywhere you want. Facebook, at Old Man Gaming DH, Twitter, at Old Man Gaming 9. You can join our Discord. The link is in the description below. You can influence all of our actual shows from there. And please, if you guys keep watching and listening to our stuff, we'll keep making them. We'll see you guys on the next one.